Welcome to my podcast. Want to hear something? I am Nidhi and I'll be your host for this episode. Today is the third episode of the podcast. Want to hear something? And today I'll be sharing a story of the restless spirits. So let's get started. I was so happy that day I was finally able to afford a decent house. Not to mention it was really cheap, old, and worn, but the biggest mistake I did was not to know why the big and beautiful house was so cheap. I was really happy to save money, so rather than reconstructing it, I just fixed all the walls and the furniture and then moved into the house. While I was setting up the room, I found a dusty diary laying on the shelf of a closet. The diary had a very vintage design and looked really odd. I know it's not ethical to flip through someone else's diary, but I couldn't resist my urge. But hey, if I found out whose it was, I could at least return it. I turned to the first page. It was dated back to 1940s and belonged to a 13-year-old, but the identity was kept clandestine. I flipped through a few pages. All of them seemed to be creepy poems. The one I found weirdest was, "You'll hear him playing the piano, but don't you look at him then. I'm sure he'll play the lower notes and bad things will happen again. Just leave him alone, remember he's with you. The house has his history from his birth till he grew. Once you are familiar around, the house will show his stories to you. Remember not to be afraid at all. The stories are known by only a few." This poem made me think a lot. I had tons of questions in my mind, but no one to answer them. As time passed, I soon forgot about the poem. Being in a new home, alone, and managing my work was a hectic task, but I somehow made it work. One day, I stayed back home rather than going to work just to have a day off and relax and get used to the new schedule. It was about 1 when I was again reading the poems from the book. I dozed off. I then woke up to a sound of breaking of glass. I started to search around the house, but I didn't see anything. So I decided to go up to the attic where I'd never been before. I opened the door and a gentle breeze blew at me. I went inside and saw a piano at the corner. Besides it was a chair on which clothes of a little boy were kept, and saw a broken lamp, possibly what I had heard breaking. But now I saw the pages of the book which were flipping as if turned by someone. I heard a giggle, so I slammed the door and ran downstairs. I then sat down on my bed when I remembered the poem. I was so scared, but I was helpless. So I assured myself that if I followed everything in the book, I would be safe. One night, I heard someone play the piano. It was beautiful. Attempting to be brave, I went upstairs and sat down on the stairs. I kept on listening to it. I made sure not to look at him playing it. Just then, the piano stopped. I was about to leave. I was scared till death. But my guts kept me back. Just then, a note blew towards me. I read it. It said, "Do you want to play?" in a shabby childish handwriting. I replied with a yes, but I was unaware of what I was getting myself into. Before I could do anything, the light started to flicker. Cold air started swooshing around. I was walking backwards near the wall, constantly keeping my eyes on the attic door. There was a banging sound when I hit the wall with a picture behind me. Then I heard a creak. The attic door opened. I was sweating. I was about to faint. I gathered myself and hid under a table from which I could see the attic door. It was open. Trying to be silent, I stared at the shadow that I saw going downstairs. I was holding my breath. Just then, the phone in my pocket began ringing. I didn't pick it up. I started to go towards the attic. I went in the attic, only to see the boy sitting on the chair, giving a sinister smile on his face, staring at me with his jet black eyes.